Hey guys, you might be frustrated with prices and availability of retro PC parts. Maybe you feel like you have missed the train. Well, this video is for you. I believe the LGA 775 platform is the next big thing in the retro PC community. It is especially the flexibility of this platform that is so amazing, from MS-DOS all the way to Windows 11 and everything in between. For example, here we have Doom running in real MS-DOS with FM music and Sound Blaster sound effects. Let's switch to Windows 98. It's not supported on this platform officially, but that doesn't seem to be a problem. We have proper 3D accelerated graphics, EAX sound, and everything is working as expected. Windows XP is next. This is likely the most suitable operating system for this platform. There are a wide range of video cards that you can choose from, and we also have decent EAX sound. You can go with a Sound Blaster X-Fi. LGA 775 can also easily handle Windows Vista 7, 10 and even Windows 11. Now, at first glance, well, Windows 11 doesn't make a lot of sense for retro gaming, but it is the latest operating system with all these security patches, so it lets you go online, download games from GOG or Steam, do your retro-related social media, or maybe play remastered versions of classic games, and so much more. Also very flexible is PCBWay, our channel sponsor. It's your one-stop shop for printed circuit boards manufacturing and assembly, but also CNC machining, 3D printing and more. Check the video description for links and more information. Specific platforms, well, they do a better job at running a certain era of software. For example, a Socket 7 machine will run DOS games better. We have the ISA and the AGP slots. And if you want to run Windows 11, well, a modern Core i5 will also do a better job. But LGA 775 can do both, and it does a fairly good job if you can, see past a few shortcomings. With prices and availability of retro PC parts, if you feel like you missed the boat and you didn't have a chance to get the parts when they were cheap, well, now is the time. LGA 775 prices are still very low and the availability is excellent. On this topic, I want to share some personal experiences from my past. There was a time when everybody in the community was building high-end PCI 486 machines and nobody cared for Socket 7. Well, how things have changed. It turns out that Socket 7 is one of the best platforms for the retro PC, with the ability to run demanding 3D DOS games, but you can also slow it down to the level of a 386 or 486. A little bit later, I started showcasing how awesome the Pentium 4 or the Athlon 64 is, especially for Windows 98 gaming, and I copped a lot of heat. It's not retro, but yeah, times have changed. Now, if you're looking for decent Pentium 4 or Athlon 64 parts, well, prices have also gone up. The word has spread, and especially the high-end parts from good brands, well, they are now difficult to find. The LGA 775 platform is flexible in many aspects. Let's start talking about the processor. The processors are cheap as chips and should be easy to find. It's only the very high-end CPUs that are already attracting a premium, but if you go down 2 or 3 models from the top model, then prices are fairly decent. To give concrete examples, for example, the Core 2 E8600, that one will be a little bit more expensive. Just go for the E8400, or if you're interested in a quad core for running Windows 11, just go with the Q9400 instead of the 9650, then the prices should also be very, very decent. The processors run fairly cool, and that means you don't need a beefy cooler like with the Pentium 4. LGA 775 coolers are also easy to source. Chances are you have one lying around, and you can even go with liquid cooling if you're interested in that sort of thing. For many games, slow is good, and we can go into the BIOS and lower the CPU multiplier. Especially in MS-DOS, there are many speed-sensitive games. Using the CPU speed utility, we can disable the processor cache, and now look at that, 3D bench, we're getting a score of 18.9. This is on the level of a very entry-level 486SX. We can slow it down even further. The CPU speed utility lets us adjust a setting for throttle and modulation, and at the slowest setting we're getting a speed of 7.5. This is at the level of a 286, absolutely fantastic. Setting modulation and throttle to 2, we're getting 27.8, and with a setting of modulation and throttle set to 3, we're getting 48.5. So the bottom line is that we can really fine-tune the performance of this processor to be compatible with speed-sensitive MS-DOS games. We need a decent motherboard, and here we are spoiled for choice. These boards do not suffer from the capacitor plague anymore. The model I'm using is from Gigabyte. It's got a P31 chipset, and as we go through this video, I will talk about all the ports and connectors and explain what makes this platform so flexible. Let's talk about video cards. We have PCI Express and PCI. PCI Express, well, you have a wide range of cards for Windows XP, Vista, 7, 10 and 11. So a lot to choose from. But even under Windows 98 and MS-DOS, a lot of PCI Express cards can work. For example, under DOS, recently I played with a GT 9800. It has a VGA output, it can drive a CRT monitor, and under DOS it had a beautiful image. And under Windows 98, well, even here, especially some of the ATI Radeon cards, I've done a video in the past showcasing the Radeon X850. That card can work, the X800, the X550, X300. So there are quite a few cards that work under Windows 98 despite being PCI Express. Going with a PCI video card is a better option for the older operating systems like MS-DOS and Windows 98. Under DOS, for example, a card from S3 or Matrox like a Millennium or a Mystique are good options, and with S3, for example, a Trio 64 or a S3 Verge, these video cards are awesome for MS-DOS. Under Windows 98, on the low end, you can also go with an S3 Verge, the infamous 3D decelerator. The NVIDIA GeForce FX 5200 and FX 5500, those cards are available in PCI format. Awesome for Windows 98. I have done videos about these cards in the past, but there are other cards. The River TNT 2M64 is available. The GeForce 2MX, GeForce 4MX are also available for PCI, and you can even get some of the GeForce 6 series like a 6200 for the PCI form factor. And yeah, also you have the option to go with a 3DFX Voodoo. Now here prices will be steep, but cards like a Banshee or a Voodoo 3, a Voodoo 4 or a Voodoo 5 are all available in the PCI form factor and will work fine on this motherboard with Windows 98. Sound cards are of particular interest to me. We have PCI and PCI Express. So with the later operating systems, we can go with something modern like a Sound Blaster X5, for example, with Windows XP and higher. And with the PCI interface, we are covered for Windows 98, for example, a Sound Blaster Live, Audigy or Audigy 2. Under MS-DOS, we can take advantage of the Sound Blaster Emulator project. It's a driver and it emulates FM music and Sound Blaster sound effects with fairly decent compatibility. Now with the onboard sound, I didn't have too much success. Doom was working, but Monkey Island 2 and The Heart of China was not. I had more success using the dedicated Sound Blaster Audigy. Here all 3 games were working. Let's take a listen to some recordings. let's talk about storage, another highlight of this platform. We have a floppy port here, so that lets you connect a floppy drive or a Gotek USB floppy emulator, and just makes it easy to boot and install operating systems. And of course, we have an IDE port here as well, so you can hook up a mechanical IDE hard drive if you want, or use an IDE to SATA converter, although on this platform it's not necessary because we have SATA ports. So we can connect SATA SSDs or one of those mSATA to SATA adapters, and then you have modern flash storage available, 16, 32, 64 gigabytes, perfect for DOS and Windows 98, and for Windows XP and higher you can get larger capacities. But there is more. We also have USB 2, and that also opens quite a few possibilities. So the BIOS versions on these main boards are much better with being able to boot from USB, so you can plug in a USB optical drive or a flash drive. They're compatible with projects like Easy to Boot or Ventoy, or another project that I like to use is Rufus. And for PCI Express, we can get PCI Express to NVMe adapter cards and then use NVMe storage. Now, my understanding is you can't boot from NVMe on these platforms, but if you use a SSD for your boot drive, you can use PCI Express NVMe as a secondary storage and then install your games on there with ultra fast access time. We also have some legacy ports here, parallel and serial, and there's a heap of stuff we can do. You can hook up a serial mouse, or you can transfer data under DOS. LabLink, for example, was one such tool. Or you can connect a null modem cable and connect the second machine and then play against another player on a second computer. The parallel port can also be very useful. Legacy software, I remember CAD packages used a parallel port dongle for copy protection. Maybe, that's something of interest to you. But there are also sound devices like the Covox speech thing, and from Sedako you can buy an adapter that will give you OPL3 over the parallel port. For input devices, we're still getting two PS2 ports, so we can connect a PS2 keyboard and PS2 mouse. These are still available new, which is awesome, but also thanks to USB and a BIOS setting where you can enable USB keyboard and USB mouse support. That means you can use a USB keyboard or USB mouse even under DOS, although I found this not to be as reliable as PS2, especially when slowing down the CPU cache. The USB input devices, they were really laggy, whereas with PS2 it worked just fine. But the good news is you have both options, and under Windows 98 USB input devices worked flawless, and you can also use game controllers and modern joysticks. So guys, flexibility is the main theme of this platform, of this video, from MS-DOS to Windows 11 and everything in between. There is so much fun to be had with this platform. Sure enough, if you're specializing on a certain era, for example with Windows XP, then maybe a Sandy Bridge Core i5 is a better platform. But if you want to branch out and try a few multi-operating systems on your machine, then LGA 775, you will have a ton of fun. The idea of making this video is to spread the word and give you a chance to go out there and pick up a few parts now at good prices, so you don't regret it in the future. And in this video I didn't dig too deep. I mean, I did install 3 or 4 or 5 operating systems, so this alone took quite some time. I want to sit back a little bit, listen to the comments, because I always learn from you. You guys are really brilliant on a Saturday morning, cup of coffee, and then I go over all the comments. And then going forward, I can dig a little bit deeper, maybe do a video specific for MS-DOS, for Windows 98, for Windows XP, something like that. So I hope you found this video interesting, and I would love to hear your thoughts on LGA 775. Do you also believe that this is the next big thing in the retro PC community. At the moment, there are a ton of parts available, but times are changing. The same thing happened with the Pentium 4. I got a lot of heat when I promoted this platform, but if you look around now, good Pentium 4 gear, the prices have already started to go up, and it's just a matter of time. The same thing will happen with LGA 775, and the community also finds new tools all the time to make this platform even more awesome. And that's it for this video. I really appreciate all the support, especially a big thank you to my Patreons for supporting me behind the scenes. And that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you soon with another one.